Hello, YouTubers. My name is James Grawl, and today my brother sent me this picture and said that he would like the same kind of effect for a couple pictures that he gave me of his granddaughters. So this is kind of a nice picture. It has a vignette with a out of focus background. So let me go ahead and close this file and see what we can do. Um, this is the finished result. And these are the two pictures that he sent me. So I'm going to try to show how I went about making this. And I'm going to start with this photograph. And the first thing I want to do is eliminate the background. And because it has too many colors, the magic wand's not going to really pick it up. So I got to do some handwork here. So I'm going to start out with the lasso tool. And I'm going to get rid of as much as I can. Now, when I use the lasso tool, I hold on Alt, and then I can just click from position to position, and when I release, it'll connect. So I'm going to go as tight as I can here to eliminate all the easy stuff, and then I'll come in and zoom way in real close and use the same lasso tool along with masking using a brush to try to get rid of the rest. So I'm just following this as best I can. I'll bring it back down around here. So the tighter fit you can get, the less work you'll have to do later on. And of course, it gets real labor intensive when you have to follow an edge, which I'm going to have to do in a second. So I'll just go all the way around. And when I release the Alt button, it will connect. And right now, this is a background. So if I hit delete, it'll give me a black background or a white if I hit delete now. Let's try that again. If you hit delete, and I've never seen this box come up before, so must be because of the new version. It wants to know what fill I want to use. Normally what I do is I just double click on it to make it a layer, and then when you hit delete, it should go to transparent pixels. There we go. Okay, now the real work begins. And there's a bit of a problem because the background color is so close to the color of the hair. But I'll do the best I can. And if you hold on the space bar, you can pan the picture over. And I think I'll start with the lasso tool and try to figure out what is their arm and what isn't. And follow along the edge. Now, I'll tell you what, you can hit delete here and get rid of those pixels, but if you make a mistake, you're not going to be able to easily come back. So what I would do is make a mask instead here, add a layer mask. And that got rid of everything except what I had selected. So to change that, all I got to do is inverse the color of this mask. So go to Image and look for Inverse. Invert. And so now what it so I have the mask inverted. So if I think it's if I shift click on this. No, if I shift click on this, it will turn the mask off and it'll bring back that. And if I alt click on it, it'll actually show me the mask. So this area, the black hides what's going on. So I'm going to alt click back on this and we'll see how that mask works a little bit better later on. So actually what I'm doing is working on the mask, and instead of deleting, I'll be adding black to hide. So I'm not getting rid of the pixels because it's easy to make a mistake and I want to be able to come back. And since I'm here, let me show you how this mask works. If you have a brush and you paint, and that's a pretty big brush, so I'll bring it down the size here. And if you paint with it, it hides that. And if you switch over to white, it reveals. So if you make a mistake, it's really easy to paint with white and get back to where you were. So I'm on the mask, I'm not on the image. And I'm going to go back to the lasso tool here and try to follow this edge. So I'm holding down Alt once again. And you don't move too far, maybe inch or so, and you're fairly well zoomed in, as you can see, to do this for some accuracy. And it is very difficult to tell where her arm is. Now instead of hitting delete, I'm going to do a control backspace, fill with black, the background color, and that'll just hide it. And then I hold down the space bar and move around. And then sometimes it's kind of hard to see what's going on, and you've got to zoom out to get your bearings. Try to figure, okay, so that looks like we want to keep that there. That's her hand, but this lighter color can all go. And then once again, I'll zoom back in and go back to my lasso tool, holding down Alt and following this edge. And you don't go too far. If you go too far, it looks too straight. It looks too mechanical. And I'll just follow up here. And I'm going to zoom out again to kind of get my bearings again. So once again, I'm going to do a control backspace to fill that with black, and it hides it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. And I'm going to show you another way to do this. And once again, you zoom in pretty much. Maybe even more so than when you're using the other tool. And I'm going to go straight to my brush and set my brush up. I don't need the dialog box. I can right click and get the size I want. I think that's probably a little bit big, maybe a little bit smaller. And I want it maybe just a little bit soft. Okay, so let's go to black. And that's too much softness, so I'm going to go back, and I guess I want it really hard. And I'm going to bring the size in a little bit. And it seems like it's still a little bit soft, but I'll have to go with it. And now once again, it gets pretty hard to tell what's what here. All right, now I'm getting kind of lost here, so I'm going to zoom out and come back in. And I think I'll go back to this tool because it's kind of easy to follow this edge with this tool. And like I said, you don't go too far before you click. Otherwise, you get a real mechanical, straight looking line. So when you see my pause, I'm clicking to set a point. And I'll come around and circle this. And instead of hitting delete, I'm doing a fill. Now black's in the front here, so I'll do an alt delete instead of a control delete for the foreground color. Holding down the space bar again, working my way around. Let me zoom out a little bit to reorientate myself. Okay, so this is looking okay. It looks a little bit too sharp here, but because it's a mask, I can come back in and round that off. But I think I'll just work on this for a while. I think I'll go back to the brush, make sure I'm on the mask, make sure I got black, and continue on. Now, what you use, whether the lasso tool or the brush, um, is all personal. You decide. Now, this technique's not good for having frazzled the kind of hair, but if the hair is pretty straight, this technique works pretty good. Now, this hair is a little frazzled, so this becomes a lot harder to do. And you just got to decide whether or not you want to come back in and hit areas where you think there's some transparency in here. I probably won't bother. And here I go, up and around. So the biggest requirement is patience and having a steady hand, I guess, in doing this. Now that you get the idea, probably what I'll do is speed this video up so it's not monotonous. I'm going to zoom out to try to get a sense of what's going on. Hold down the space bar again. So it's pretty hard to tell where the background is and where the hair is. So back to my brush. And so I'll just take my best guess. Yep, pretty hard to tell. So a little dark on the edge there. Maybe I can clean that up a little bit. There's a lot of sophisticated techniques using channels and so forth for getting rid of backgrounds, but I could never wrap my head around those sophisticated techniques. And I just decided that you just got to do this by hand. I know Photoshop has extraction tools and magnetic lasso tools, and I could never really get any of them to work. I just don't think the technology is smart enough to be able to deal with all the different colors that you find in the image. leaving kind of a reflected color on her edge, but that's probably actually sitting on her shirt. Working my way down here. I hope I didn't. I might have been taking away her shirt. Sure enough. So I just screwed up. Let's back off. Put on the space bar. Let me back up one more. Okay, so I went right over her shirt. So I've got it. Well, that's one reason for having mask. Now I just did a series of undos. But if I ran out of undos, it's just the mask. I didn't get rid of those pixels, so I could have painted with white to get the shirt back. And coming down. All right, let's take a look. Let's zoom out, pan over. I thought it was a little bit stiff here, so let me see if I can. Zoomed in, it doesn't look too bad. Let me get rid of some of that there. Make sure I'm on the mask, click on the mask. And I'm just gonna shed some of that color. No, I'm gonna undo that because I'm not sure I got that right. Not sure what that is. Let me zoom out. Okay. Well, there's a little bit of brown in there that I don't care for. So I'm going to go back to my brush and just quickly hit that. Painting with black to hide. And so this edge is reflected light from her previous background. So I'd actually be cutting away her shirt. So I think I can live with that. So now he wanted both pictures, and he wanted it in a file that was 6x4 and 350 resolution. So I'm going to go ahead and make that and pull this out. And then I'm going to bring this file over into this one. I'm going to grab this background here and just pull it over. and place it somewhere here and resize it. I'm holding down Shift as I resize. Okay, now once again, that's the finished product that we're trying to get. And now I need the other picture. Okay, got this one. So I have to go to File and open up the other picture. And so I'm going to do the same thing on this picture, and I will speed it up. But I'm going to go ahead and do it. The tighter you get in here, the less work you'll have to do later on. I'm going to turn the background into a layer that has transparency by double clicking on it. Hit delete. And I'm going to make a layer mask. So if I make a mistake, I can undo it by painting with white. Zoom in, hold the space bar to pan. Got the same kind of issues here that I had before. The issue being the background color being the same color as the color of the skin. And so what I want to do is fill that with black. So since it's black is the foreground color, Alt delete. I'm holding down Alt so I can click from point to point with this. Alt delete to fill with black, which will hide. And click to deselect and then hold on space bar. I'm going to go to my brush now. And painting with black. Hiding that. I left some stuff here. Not real sure what this is, so I'm going to zoom out, try to figure out what that is. That looks like Casey's shirt, so I'll leave that alone. Now you notice there's some background color showing through here, so I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. And I'm going to undo that. It needs to be smaller still. And I'm just going to hit that. And I don't like that. I'm going to make the brush smaller still. That's too small. And then what I'm going to do is reduce the opacity of it to get a more subtle effect. And I'm going to switch to white and bring back some of it along the edge, because it looks like a cutout right now. So I want to make it more of a subtle effect. So I'm painting back some of it with white. Now I'll go back to black and make my brush bigger. Okay, that's too big. Something like that. Oh, now I've got to bring back the opacity back to 100%. Otherwise, I'll leave pixels that I don't want to leave. And it's kind of too soft there. So I want to make sure my size, my hardness should be 0. So that's good. Even with a soft brush, with a hard brush, you get a very soft edge. And I guess that can be good. In my case, I wish it was a little bit harder. It's a little bit too fuzzy for my like, but let me zoom out now and see how things are going. Kind of hard to tell once again. All right, I gotta zoom in here. Spacebar to move down here. Yeah, the brush is almost too soft. Not sure what that is, so I gotta zoom out here. I was zoomed in pretty tight. And I'm leaving a lot of junk. That's where this excels, this little guy. Zoom in a little bit more. Back to here. Let's get this guy down here. Back to the lasso tool. And once again, we're filling with black, so that'd be Alt-Delete to hide. So that's better. And I still have that little brown against the edge, but that's actually reflecting off her shirt, so I can look at that. I'm going to go to the lasso tool here. And the real test will be when we put a background behind it to see how it looks. Alt-Delete to fill with black. Whoops. Make sure you're on the mask. And it is Alt-Delete. Hold on the spacebar to pan up. And I'll go back, I deselect by clicking. And I'll go back to the brush to finish off. Now the brush does leave a softer edge, which can be good for hair, but probably not so good for a dress. You really zoom in on this edge. And I don't think I'll bother cleaning that up unless it looks bad against the background. So we'll pull this tab out and we'll look for that other file. I think I put it down here. And we can drag this file over to here. Now these should be the same. I'm gonna hold down Shift and scale it. And move it over here. If you want to select both of them, just hold down Shift. Maybe I'll scale them both holding down Shift a little bit up. Hit Enter to accept the change. Now I'm going to go look for a background. Let's see, I don't need all these pictures up here, so I'm going to shut that down. And I'll keep this. But this one I can shut down. Okay, I did a Google search for images for gardens, and we could pick out anything here. And I think I'll just grab this. It's 1920 by 1080. I'm going to right click and just copy it. I won't bother saving it. Copy image. And then I'll go to back to Photoshop and make a new layer underneath. And I'll paste that in, Control V. And then I'll resize it, holding down Shift to keep its proportions. Now, the effect was a faded effect, which we'll do with transparency, but it was also a effect that had the background blurred. So I don't have any of my tools here, so I'm going to hit the F key to try to bring back my menu, and I did. So filter gallery, and I don't want to use the filter gallery, so I'm going to cancel that. What do I want to do? Filter, blur gallery. Yeah, let's try a field blur. Okay, without a blur, it would look like this, and now giving it some blur. And I haven't played with this a whole lot. It says iris blur. That's kind of a cool effect. I wonder if I brought this one back and just did the iris blur. That's funny. Right in the middle, it keeps it unblurred. How curious. So maybe I don't want that. Field blur, tilt blur, path blur, spin blur. Maybe I just want to blur. Then it has bokeh, which is a camera effect. And that might be a little bit over the top. Color bokeh, which doesn't seem to be doing much. And then light range. What does that do? Doesn't seem to matter. But I guess for now, that's going to be good enough. So I'll say okay to that. And then it was lighter. You can do that by having a white background, which I have, just bringing down the opacity. Now the next thing, they were vignetted. So I'm going to make another layer up here and find the shape tool, the ellipse tool, and it's in pixel mode right here. So I need another layer for the oval. And you got to turn it on. I must have turned it off. And then I'm going to just pull it out here, and then I'll reshape it. Now I can't see the picture underneath, so I'm going to bring down the opacity and then try to fit this the way the vignette was. All right, then the vignette was blurred, so I'm going to go ahead and blur that. Filter, blur, I'll just do a Gaussian blur. Maybe that's a little bit too much. I think that'll work. Then I'm going to make a copy by alt dragging on it, holding down Shift. I'm going to do the same thing to the other picture. Now I'm going to put them at 100%. Okay. and go ahead and merge it down. So both of these are on the same layer. Then I'm going to control click on it to select it. And then I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go to this layer first. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, actually, I need to because this needs to fade out. I'm going to go to this layer first, though. And I think what I'll do is inverse the selection and hit delete. So select, inverse, and I'm on the garden layer, so I hit delete. In fact, I'm going to undo that. A smarter thing to do would be to make a mask and fill it with black. And it automatically did that. But it did it in reverse. So I've got to reverse the color of this mask. So image, adjust, invert. There we go. And I would do the same to the girls, but it would fade it out. So I think I'll just leave it like it is. And that's pretty much how to do this. I don't think there was anything else I needed to do. So thank you for watching this, and God bless.